Excellent. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to 2021 and the Smart Hub's very first Lunch and Learn. My name is Elise Hatton. I'm Rockhampton Regional Council's Smart Hub Business Manager. And as you know, in Rockhampton Regional Council and the Smart Hub is very dedicated to supporting our local people in business. And one of the ways in which we demonstrate the support is by hosting these amazing Lunch and Learns. Now, my mantra always for the Lunch and Learns are, you have to learn at least one thing that you can take away and implement in your business straight away. And so with that, we try and select topics that are really relevant to our members and to the people in business in our region. Now, today's topic was actually suggested by one of our members, and it's all about building teams and employment and the paperwork and bureaucracy around employing people. The minefield, as our presenter today, Simon Viva, refers to what we're going to talk about today. So Simon is our expert. He's part of the owner and founder of the Cross Group, and today is going to represent the Cross Recruit, which is part of his business, and I'm sure you'll be talking more about what you do in that business. So thank you so much, Simon, for helping us understand, yes, people are our most valuable asset in our business, and there's a legal framework that we need to adhere to be able to employ them safely and legally, and thank you for helping us understand what that looks like.
No worries. Thanks for the opportunity. Well, Cross Recruit and this minefield of paperwork and employing people and actually looking after them during the journey while they're in the business. It's quite lengthy. So what we do before we start, we have a retreat warnings when we need to leave the building. We walk out that way with the sirens and we can follow the lease, and I'm sure you'll plead us out. Disclaimer, everything we present today is high level. It is not right down to the nitty-gritty, so when it comes to the nitty-gritty, we either get advice from us or legal people on specific items, so we're going to be fairly high level in our discussions. Myself, basically, I'm Managing Director across Asia Pacific, broken up into a few companies underneath that. I've been in the safety, HR, IR, quality, environmental, project management world for about 21 years now. It all came about when I was involved as supervising where we had an accident on site, and basically I was the person that had to deal with the upfront everything that had event. From there, I've dedicated the rest of my career to helping people, and that covers safety, employment, HR, and everything like that. So we started the company just on 7 years ago now, so I've been going for a while. And as Lee says, the business' biggest asset is its people. If you don't have the right people, you don't have a business. It's as simple as that. So we need to have the processes, we need to have things, we want people to actually want to come and work for them. And that all starts from actually day one when you start recruiting someone. And if you don't have the processes in place that actually ease through that and set the expectations up front, people don't know what they're actually going to do within that business. So what we've got to do is make sure the onboarding system is legal, it's friendly, and it's welcoming, so people actually want to join that organisation. Because people will talk, the word will get out there. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's in hospitality, agriculture, mining, or just drafting or office work, it is all the same. When we look at the recruitment, basically we follow a process when we need to look at people. So we just want to prepare a job description. We actually need to know what are the outcomes we want this person to be able to do, because you can actually tell them so they know whether the job's going to be a fit for them or not. There's no point saying I want blue doors and someone's going to have orange triangles, because it just doesn't fit the business, so you're wasting your time in both areas. So that has clear expectations up front, what the deliverables, what the KPIs are, and what they're actually going to be able to do and not do with the business. You advertise the role with the details, and then people start bombarding you with resumes and things like that. And we did a role last year for plant operator, out of 470 applicants. Only about 40 of those fitted the mould, but it took about 3 days to go through every single one to decide they weren't part of what we had to do. So then you've got to evaluate the interview process. Now, the interview process has to be done the right way. you need to have clear expectations again, what you want to do, how you're going to do it. Don't discriminate. You've got to be very careful while interviewing people. Okay, now these days, because of COVID, we've done a lot of Zoom and things like that for recruitment. So even if you're in your own business and people can't come to you, you need to try and get a pool of people from outside the area of the rim or you've locked down for COVID. You need to be very aware of how you present yourself on a camera, what's behind you and around you when you're doing interviews. It is very, very important. Okay, you've got to present that properly. So when it comes to discrimination, that's part of the selection process too. There's a whole range of things. Discrimination Act that you can't discriminate against. We hear all that big answer.
Can you give us just a couple of examples of what I want to ask?
Are you married? Have you got kids?
How old
What
are you?
religion you are? Are you in the union?
Okay.
Have you got a mental health problem that I need to be aware of before I employ you? Yeah.
The first one you said sparked my ears. I'm a tutor of special needs children,
Yep.
and I'm looking for another tutor.
Yep.
I need to know that they can relate to children. How can I then ask that question without discriminating?
Basically, in the job saying this is a requirement is that you need to be able to relate to these people, and you ask the question there, how would you relate? And it's a question answer. It's an open question, not a closed one. Let them answer it, okay? And if they then give you a closed question, then you've got to work out how you tackle it that way. Okay, so you just got to be mindful of what you. I mean, so many times I go to assist people in an interview process, and they go, "Oh, shut up," and they go, "What?" There's a lot of things you've got to be aware of. Okay. And once you start actually going to the process, and if you're looking in that specific area, what you need to do is familiarise yourself with what are the do's and don'ts for my industry, what are the things we have to deal with. Then you can ask the question relevant in the interview around it. Open questions. Don't corner someone in an interview and give them a straight out yes or no. Always ask them, how would they deal with this, or what would your reaction? And by that means, at the end of the day, if they're not fit for that role within your organisation, or they think they mightn't fit that industry, you just thank them for their time. You don't feedback, well, nah, you're no good like this. You just thank you for your time. Be very careful. Once you've come with some candidates, you then have to then look at, check if they're the current legitimate qualifications, so if there's something in your area. So it could be blue card, it can be a whole lot of things, so that is a prerequisite, tick, tick, tick. Check the validity. You need to make sure, is it current? Is it a real ticket? So many times now in certain industries, people buy tickets at the pub and they turn up and you go, okay, you got this, and you go, whoa, okay. You can't have explained to me how to start that piece of plant, or you don't know the difference between a 10-tonne or 1-tonne. Ooh. So again, it's checking to make sure they've got the real qualification, and it's not just something they've acquired or copied or something like that. There's a lot of that out, so you need to be careful, need to protect yourself. Then you make an offer. When you go to make an offer, you need to make sure they can work in Australia, for starters. Okay, so if they're under visas and things like that, you need to check that out. So you can actually get on to a website, the visa entitlement location, that is free, and then you can actually put their passport or something like that, and that will tell you whether they're legitimately in Australia, they can work, and what type of work they can actually do. It is your responsibility as the employer to check it. Okay, so there's a lot of tools out there you can do and check for that. So when you make the offer, it's in writing, it's a contract. You then have to have quite a few things on that piece of paper, okay, that tells, there's templates on Fair Work, Queensland Gov. Commonwealth, all those websites have templates there for you. Don't think you have to do this all the hard way. There's that much free information out there to provide for you, and we'll bring a website up after this and we'll show you how to do it. You've got to then look at your pay. How do we pay these people? Okay, so everything these days falls under what we call the NES, the National Employment Standard. We do have agreements out there which have been done before, where they do an enterprise agreement and things like that. But the new awards basically come with 10 minimum employment entitlements, and basically here they are. The main one I want to draw your attention to is the maximum weekly hours. It's very important. Don't automatically assume that I can get someone to work 60 hours a day and it'll be fine. Under the new awards, you've got to be very careful. As an employer, you need to be managing that fatigue and what people are doing and how they're doing it. Annual leave entitlements. Now, there's a lot of entitlements out there under the awards that people need to be aware of. Compassionate leave and all those type of things. And what they actually do is some of these all change within the instrument, the award that you have. Okay? So when I employ people, I actually go to Fair Work, I print out what their pay rate is and everything like that, and actually hand that to them as part of their engagement. So here's the award, this is what I do. Now, under the rules, you need to meet or exceed the award. So if it's $25 an hour and you want to give someone $26 an hour, that's up to you. My caution with this, and it is a huge caution, do not think that if the award says $25 for argument's sake, I'm going to pay them $27 flat rate. Now, if I pay you a flat rate, now it works, you work Saturdays and Sundays where there's normal penalties. No, mate, I'm just 27. That should be right. Shake your hand. Problem is then, you then have to do a means test to actually make sure you meet and exceed the award. So on Saturday, the time and a half, they go the double time, and on Sunday, if you then work out, when we go backwards and do an assessment on it, work out that it's actually $28 an hour, you default by $1, by all the hours that you've paid, and a fine of about $54,000 from Fair Work because you have broken the law, and then you get damaged. So then you're prosecuted. So if you're then tendering and you fill in a tender and it says, have you been prosecuted under workplace health and safety or Fair Work? And you go, yes. Guess what happens to your tender? It sort of shuffles a bit to the side. Okay, so you could be very, very wary of that. All these things here you need to be up to date with. I advise people that we consult to that they should at least look at these every 3 months, and it only takes you 10 minutes to get onto Fair Work, have a look to see if anything's changed. If not, away you go.
There's a tool within Office of Fair Trading, and you can email them with whatever award you're on, and then they'll email you with any updates and stuff, so it kind of keeps you aware of what's going on.
When we get onto the site, I'll show you, because we'll pull it up and we'll bring you Fair Work up, and you can actually register in there under your company, and you can register for the awards that you actually got, and they will then, now be cautious, because there has been part where someone we went and helped a year and a half ago, they didn't get the updates, they didn't come through, so they had a bit of massaging backwards to catch up. And of course, there was whose fault. At the end of the day, the onus is on the employer at all times. Types of engagement: full-time, part-time, casual, fixed, apprenticeship and outworkers. We're going to see a lot more of outworkers now. The definition of outworkers used to be seamstress or something like that, made their own clothes at home and then bought it back into someone else. We're seeing a lot more of this now because of COVID, that people are actually being sent home and they're working from home. So are they an outworker, or are they still full-time but they're relocated at their house? Because the problem with this at the moment is that where the HR and the workplace health and safety join together, and we'll show you a map of that shortly, is that the whole heap of complications there. So if I'm home and I'm working for the business and I trip over my own rug at home, I've got workers' comp because I tripped over my own rug at home. I was talking to some lawyers before Christmas, and they went, "Oh, where do we go with this?" And I said, "Yeah, that's your problem, not mine. It's at the moment, it's a hard one." So what do I need to provide when starting a person? A written agreement. Okay, so the written agreement is going to have pay rate, conditions, hours, rosters, as agreed. Okay, as a minimum. You're going to give them a position description. Now, really, that could be just one page. Don't think it's got to be something big. Again, you go onto Fair Work, or the state or the Commonwealth websites, they've got templates there already. All you've got to do is fill the information in. This one, especially here, it will tell you what you can do and what you can't do. Can I spend the company's money up to $100? Yes or no? Do I have an OPEX or CAPEX? Yes or no? Who's my report? Who do I report to? It's the next layer up, and it tells you with that. You've got the tax file declaration. These days it's quite simple. If you have electronic accounting system, MyOb, Xeros, things like that, this automatically goes in when you enter a new employee. Still get the person to fill the paperwork in and sign it. What you do then is you then attach that somewhere and keep the copy. You don't send that into the ATO anymore. It is automatically done with normal accounting processes for single touch. Superannuation choice, you've got to give them the superannuation choice. At the back of that, there's also a section for you as the employer. And what that has is if that person does not have superannuation, a company will have a one that they will use to provide for their employees. Okay? You've got 28 days from when they first start to get that, get it back and register. The beauty of most of the systems these days is that all becomes automatic in your accounting software. Again, if you've got the popular cloud-based ones, once you upload it and put it in there, it automatically sends it out to the clearing houses and automatically sends it across to the person's account. So there's no more having to do it. You just got to be able to push the button. So people say, it's too hard. Sorry, you push a button, you get a text, put a number in, and everyone gets paid. So the old days, it's the excuses are gone. And then you've got the Fair Work Information Statement. That has changed. So these days, basically, when you send a pack out to people, you need to send that out. Okay? That is basically a brief of everyone's entitlements, what they can do, what they can't do. The minimum hours, see at the moment, the national minimum wage as of July 2020 is $19.84 full-time or part-time or casual $24.80 minimum.
I have a question about the minimum. I've spoken to MGET or MGT, whatever example or it goes into, and with the idea of possibly doing a traineeship.
Yep.
How can
Different.
the pay rate be?
Different. Okay, they're apprenticeships, more or less, and because what they're doing is they're learning. So it's like apprenticeship, but they're about $13.50. So if you're a year one fitter, you will be earning about $13.50. Okay, so people go, oh, but it's a trainee apprenticeship, so you're learning. So you're getting paid to learn.
Yeah.
That is the difference. Correct. So if it is a normal job, they're the benchmarks. Okay. Record keeping. A lot of people don't understand you've got to keep records for 7 years. Okay, 7 years. So time, wages, records, they've got to be available to Fair Work. So if a Fair Work inspector turns up and shows their credentials and say we've had a complaint or we're here to check on something, you have to be able to produce them. If you don't, there's a fine. Corporates, I think it's about 6,000 and individuals, 12, don't quote me, I just about that. For that, they've got to be legible in English, hours of work, payment details, reimbursement for workers. So if they've been out there and been reimbursed for something, there is a record of that. Leave, super, employment details, everything has to be there, and make sure you actually can prove that they're covered by workers' comp. Okay? All these things have to be there. So the only time you can actually change a record is if it is untrue, false or misleading. Otherwise, you cannot touch it. So if someone puts in the wrong timesheet, you need to go back to them to discuss it with them. Just don't say, sorry, I'm not doing that. It don't work. You can find yourself in hot water very quickly. Payslips. There's a whole lot of items you need to have on a payslip. Okay, and again, if you've got the brand new electronic systems, they automatically put it in there for you. Okay, so as you can see, there's a fair bit there that you actually need to have on a payslip. How do we pay people correctly? Okay, so paying people correctly is something we get to hear about all the time. Someone might ring up and say, my son's working here, I don't think they're getting paid. I say, hop onto Fair Work and have a look at it, and that they'll be able to do it. Oh, how do you do that? You go, okay. So we do that. So let's just have a quick look at one of those. If we go up here, and something we presented earlier. So you go into Fair Work, they have pay guides, so all the information's there all the time, okay? All the awards and agreements are there all the time. So what you do is you go up to pay, you work out what you want to do there, and you can calculate. So when you calculate a pay award, you'll come in here and you'll go, right, I'm an employee or an employer, so let's go next. So what do I want to do? No, help me find an award. Let's come up here a bit. So let's say, so fast food, so say fast food employee. So it's just the person helping you at the shopping centre or something like that. And we go up there, as a trainee, yes or no, you've got the little buttons there you can put to actually give you more information. Trainee, are they eligible for wage support, whether you're getting subsidy from the government, anything like that. So you go next. What they are. Now this is the important part, okay, that a lot of people don't get right. So what is the difference between a level 1, 2, 3 there? So what you do is you go up to a little bit here and that drops down. And it will tell you as a definition. That is very important because when you put it into your pay slips and stuff like that, you need to do it. So let's go level 2. Next. Let's say the casual. Are they under 16? So let's just say that you've got one of your children and they're working to get their first car. Go next. Are they required to exit the trade, so they're not a chef or anything like that? You go no. So for a 16-year-old, minimum, casual, working in a fast food shop, $14.44 at the moment. Okay, that's their minimum. So what you can do then is then you can come down and then you can print it out and do everything like so. Have they got penalties? Have they got stuff? So that is how you use your calculator. Very, very easy to use. And I stress to people, if you're employing people and you don't know the awards and stuff like that, get on there and check it so you can, because what you can do then is you can save and print it out. You can actually have a defendable thing, so I did my best to try and understand on what I was doing, but without saying, oh, I don't care, you're in a lot of hot water. So the employee records, again, a lot of the other websites for the government have got everything sitting there, okay, about how to help you run your business around people. Oh, where am I? Wrong one, Simon. Yep.
So the previous website was just the Fair Works website, and now we're going to, where do we find that?
So basically you can,
Fair Work? Okay.
yep, it's Fair Work basically there.
Yeah.
Inductions are very important. The rules around inductions is basically a requirement the same as workplace health and safety as well as Fair Work. Biggest ones, emergency response, consultation, the hazards in your workplace. You have to tell them as a bare minimum, they're the things you need to be able to tell them. Part of this process, you'll get a lot of feedback. So, oh, what about this and what about that? People feel then they want to be part of the business because they're actually feeling engaged. If you give them a piece of paper and say, there you go, there's no engagement, you walk them around, this is the first day, this is where we go, that makes so much difference to onboarding people. It's not funny. We get a lot of questions at the moment around COVID. Do we vaccinate? Do we not? What are the laws? There's a lot of debate, contextual about that. I can't comment at the moment because it's still legally going left, right and centre if you can actually force your employees to actually get vaccinated or not. I suppose it'll come down to what industry you are and the requirements, but at this stage it's a question I get on a very, very regular basis, and sorry, but hands on head at the moment, I honestly don't know where it's going to go. But it is something that people may ask you during the interview process, or as a team might come and say, hey boss, what are we doing? You know, how's this going to affect us? Are you going to insist on? Have the conversation. Don't sugar to say, well, okay, what do we feel about it? What do we think? We don't know as a business where we're going with this. We don't know what the rules are going to be, whether we have to or not. Training and supervision. Again, this is all about how you actually look after the people. Again, this is paperwork you need to have to prove that you're consulting with your people, you're sharing, supervising and giving them information. Okay, so you need to provide it. It's the same as workplace health and safety as well as the HR. You need to give them the right information, the potential risks. Now, let's just say it's not just a bomb going off. It's all about, pathogens. If you work in a lab, what pathogens are in there? If you're in a building site, what can fall? Or if you're in a bank, if we're going to have people coming in and get hostile, how do we deal with that? How do we try and keep everyone calm, and how to move people away from it and things like that. Policy and procedures, how to work safely and how to deal with the emergencies, the big one. This is the mess. Okay? This is what we live in. In my world of compliance and things like that is, where do we go? What do we do? So, fair work over here, all the information you have here. Then you've got workplace health and safety, the rules and the regs and what you need to be doing there. Workers' compensation, all over here, and it's all part of paperwork. The amount of paperwork when you start looking at all of that together, when you're doing it properly, is immense. Now, if you're a small business owner, most of the time people go, I can't do it, I'm drowning. That's why we encourage people to use electronic systems, and automatically does most of it for you. It records everything. So therefore, if there's an issue later, you go, well, that happened on this date, this is what was done, or it wasn't done, or yes, we do our inspections and everything like that. How do we do our medical treatments, our workers' comp, which feeds back to this one over here, which then can offset IR over here, which then could bring this one into place. So it's all over the place. So you're better off just having a basic understanding, having the minimum in place, and grow your business and grow your systems at the same time. You can't put this juggernaut of a system in place from day one. That's unpractical. It doesn't work. But as your business grows, you need to grow with the business, with your system. And if you're employing a lot of people, there is an expectation you need to have this. So if you get up to 15 people, you're out of a small business, now you're a medium and large, there are certain requirements by law that you now have to have because you've reached that benchmark in all of these areas. Consultation, it is the key for people. Okay, if you're talking with your people and in your business, they'll feel wanted, respected, they feel that they've got input and they have a voice. And if you're not doing that, your business will implode. You won't get that growth. You'll have natural people will leave all the time. You've got a revolving door. You cannot sustain a business with revolving doors, because when it comes to hiring people, that costs time, money and reputation and emotion. And can you put a figure on them? Some people try, but I can tell you now, by the time someone in a key position of business leaves, it takes you 3 months to get someone to replace them. The loss of knowledge, productivity, everything like that is huge. Try and keep people, set it all up. have your meetings, have your leadership, your owners walking around saying, how are you going? What's the issue? Hey, there's an issue with that. We're looking into that. And then give the feedback. When you go back, say, taking a bit longer, can't get anything, COVID, it's overseas, that's a 6-week wait. People will respect that. But if you ignore them and don't say anything, you won't get the buy-in. Help. So there's employee organisations out there, Fair Work websites, consultants like us. There's online documents that you can buy and packages like that. I caution you with those, most of those ones that you go and buy, they have a set process. If you don't read in between the process and try and work out what's going on, you can actually set yourself up for something you don't really want. So you've got to be careful with that one. So Business and Queensland, both are very, very good websites. There's a lot of free tools there. Templates in there. You just got to go out there, look for them, know what you want to look for, and they're there. You don't need to come to me to go and buy a document off me for a template. I won't sell them. I will point you to that direction. Hey, here's an email. Yep, have a look at this link. If you need help then to explain a little bit more, fair enough. But I will point you to those websites at all times to try and help that way. Okay, so good managers need to stay informed. Okay, there's a lot of websites out there. Get on the mailing list. I get about 20 emails a day from all different organisations, so I can keep abreast of changes, what's coming up, what's going away. A lot of changes happened this month, yesterday, of pay increases, superannuation. There's a whole lot of different things that have just happened, and in certain industries, they need to be aware of them. Watch out for all the blogs, make sure you get them, because there's a lot, some of the, even the lawyer ones that I get, actually give case law where they've actually said, we've just had this fine, and they're great because you learn, so if you go and see a client, you go, hang on a minute, I read something about that 2 weeks ago or a month ago, we need to be careful of this, because you learn that way, you've got to keep yourself going. And you know, if everyone, it's all about behaviour. If you set yourself up as a manager in the morning or own a business, say, right, for the first half an hour, I'm going to see what everyone's doing. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to sit down and go, what's the email, so what's changed? Set that up, then park it for the next day. And you learn everything that way. Chambers of Commerce's, industry groups, LinkedIn groups, company blogs that sell, some large companies that are out there that actually give you the blogs of what they're doing and things like that. They're very good, they're informative and they're worthwhile. Again, it's your responsibility as a business owner. Questions? Like I said, it's a gamut. This could be here all day talking about different parts of HR. The biggest thing, anything to do with paperwork, is keep it simple, have a purpose for it, don't make it bigger than Ben-Hur, have constant feedback with your people, talk to them. They are your asset. Without people in your business, you don't have a business. Unless you're an IT company and you've only got one person, but you still need other people to help fix things when it breaks. So I cannot stress enough. People, people, people. If you don't have the people skills, you employ someone that can actually manage that part of the business on your behalf. Have to have it.
Questions? Can we ask questions?
By all means.
Any questions? Yep, sorry, go.
Do you have any advice when entering into a traineeship with employee? That's what I'm looking at doing.
Yourself or bringing people?
Bringing a trainee in.
Okay, so there is organisations out there specifically set up by the government, both federal and state, who deal with that wholeheartedly. They get paid by the government to make that happen.
So, yeah, I've been talking to the MEGT.
Yep.
And I just, because it's so new to me, I'm just wondering if there's any like traps that I should look out for.
No, there's no real traps because the government will wallop them one if they're not provided. What you've got to do is certain providers sometimes don't have the service they say they're going to have. That's the only trap, and you manage that yourself. While you're not performing as your expectations, then you have the conversation because they don't lose their funding, so they'll fix it very quickly. So you need to have that conversation backwards and forwards. And if you've got an issue, raise it. and they have to come back to you very quickly with an explanation. And they say, well, no, this is what we do. Okay, so it's my responsibility here. Thank you, I now understand, so I'll then find what else I've got to do around those areas.
Do you think it's a viable way for a very small business to start?
Yeah, of course it is. But I mean, there's different funding models out there. I mean, look, we've got so much unemployment. I mean, I did a search for someone yesterday, and I was thinking Seek and Rockhampton Capricorn. On Seek there was just over 1,000 jobs. Then you get onto Indeed, and there was something like 970, and they don't double up. So there's a lot of jobs out there. You've got a lot of people that want jobs. Yes, you've got the ones that don't, but we need to grab the people. We need to get the young people, even the people who want to transition their career, use the traineeship systems to actually get it so you can afford it for one, and build your business with it.
I've been thinking about contacting the high schools and doing like the grade 12.
Yep.
People are starting in education support earlier and earlier now, so
Yep.
offering us
So a lot of them do that. So if you go to the year 12, a lot of schools they'll do placements. So they do a bit at school and a bit out there, depending on the trade. Take advantage of them all. You know, they're there for a reason. That is to try and get our youth into a workforce as soon as possible, and give them the skills to actually want to be employed. You don't want them leaving grade 12 or year 10. They go, oh, I don't want to do anything. I can't do anything, because it's a big shock after that ramp, and then they step out to the big world. Now, what do I do? And if there's a traineeship, they go, but as I said, only $13.50 an hour. Yeah, but you're training, because when you graduate and you become a diesel fitter or whatever, electrician, you look at that, not that, because you're actually getting paid to learn.
It's a great model for your business. Great one. Do it.
Yeah.
Because you need attitude rather than skill.
It is. It's very. I'm so nervous about that aspect of it, because it is the personality. Like, I can't just pull in Tom,
No, it's
Joe,
not
and Harry
skill.
off the
You need
street.
Let me give you an example. I had someone come and see me yesterday for advice on a job. I employed him 2 hours later. Simple as that. So they're out there.
Yeah.
You just got to grab it. But it all comes back to your message, how you advertise, and it comes back to the business has to be sustainable. How does my business be sustainable? What do I need as a minimum to drive it to actually work?
I need to clone myself.
Yeah, you're perfect.
You can't. I try to do that. It can't happen. You need to be able to delegate to grow. If you can't do that, that's it.
Per week.
Yeah, you need help. And I think the rule of thumb, Simon, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the rule of thumb is if someone can do something 80% as well as you should delegate that task. Because you're not going to get anyone with your passion, your skill, and it's a hard pill to swallow, it really is.
Yep.
But if you can build a workforce that have 80% of your passion and 80% of your skill, you'll be doing extremely well in a year's time.
Because if you can't step back and put other people, you're not going to grow anywhere. You're going to be flatlined. You're not going to go anywhere.
So much time with my own son, so I can help other people's children.
Yeah.
And I'm just missing him so much.
Yeah.
He's going to be into his big teenage years soon, and I'm going to have lost it.
No, it's time, just
Yeah.
grow your business.
And it's taking that step.
Yeah.
It's doing that. Utilise some of the things we spoke about here today.
I was going to ask, can we get a copy of the print out of your PowerPoint sheets?
Yep,
Yeah, of
that's
course,
not a
I
problem.
might post a link because I love getting
Yeah.
those recordings. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you've got a question, just ring me up.
Thank you.
I'm a mentor at the Smart Hub here, so all that comes for free. Okay?
Simon's amazing.
I've never really had a lot of time to actually access anything because I'm too busy.
Yeah. I mean, the Smart Hub is a great thing. It brings like-minded people together. We share experience. The good thing about entrepreneurs, we share. Share lots. Some of us share too much, don't we, Liz?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
So, tap on it, use it, grow, be bold. Plan it to be bold.
I've got most of the documents that you spoke about.
Yep.
But I've taken some notes to refine a few of them, so I'm ready.
For a couple of people, and if you do a traineeship, they'll provide most of that work for you. So position description, what they have to have, so they will actually step into you and say, right, here's the paperwork. It's all part of it.
Very anal.
Do you know what I think your greatest challenge, Teresa, is to design a process where you can find the right people more so than the paperwork, especially if you go down
Yep.
the traineeship route. They will support you. But trying to see it as like a bit of a market research. Don't go into it with I have to employ someone. Go into it with let's see who I will this time.
Well, that's
And
what I
then
thought
take it
about
over
life
the
goals,
shores.
you know,
Yeah.
but they're still trainable.
Well, see, even mature age people, they're trainable. Most of the people out there that have been in an industry or profession have had a life-changing moment. I'm now sick of that. They've got a lot of skills. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore those skills, because they can actually help your business in a totally different way that you did not know. And part of your consultation that we were talking about before, you only find that out by a conversation. Hell, you can do that. I didn't realise. Well, you didn't ask.
Yes,
Does that help?
it does. It really does.
Excellent.
I hardly ever get to come to these little learning things because I am so busy. But when I said
That's why we give the time.
Yeah.
That's why we give the time to help.
Thank you.
And there's no such thing as a silly question.
Good on you for coming.
Did you know anything?
Any other questions?
Yeah, can I ask
Yep.
you a question? Do the regulations change much if you're employing someone as their secondary employment, like all those maximum hours? Is that effective if they already have a job? And
Okay.
you take them on as a secondary?
As a second job?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you've got a second job, you've still got to look at the award they're on. You've got to look at the maximum hours and so on. Then you've got to have the conversation, because when you get their form, are they doing the tax-free threshold or not? So if you've got a second job, one of them has to not claim that. And that will automatically trigger the question, what else are you doing? So we can't have someone doing 40 hours in this company and then stepping out here and then doing another 48 hours over here. Okay, it's hard. You've got to try and marry it up, and you've got to be fair and reasonable. But at the same time, you don't want someone working in your business putting your business at risk because they're fatigued or they're doing the wrong thing because of whatever else they're doing. So you've got to be able to look at it. So, but the award still stays the same, or if you've got an enterprise bargaining agreement and it's still current and stuff like that, it still stays the same for payment, but you also got to be able to look at how does that affect them. So someone might have two jobs. They might have 3 days over here and 2 over here. That's fine. But the ones you find out that are doing 8 hours here, then 4 hours in the afternoon each day for 6 days a week, that's where you've got to look at what's fair and reasonable, and it's not putting you at risk if they fell over, then puts workers' comp and all of that, because the premiums start going up, and then you start having sick people that hurt themselves and give you a bad reputation at the same time. So,
Is there a maximum amount of hours that a person is allowed to work in a week?
look,
That's a very contentious.
it's coming. There are certain parts under different awards that say that there is.
So even if you own the business.
Well, you don't fall under the award, do you? Because you're a director.
So, but there's no legal framework for people
No.
in Australia. You're not allowed to work more than whatever hours.
No. So they have set, but then you've got to then. But so what you've got to do is people fall in the trap that, let's say, okay, I'm going to employ you over here as a manager. My expectations of you is to do 40 hours a week, but as a manager you're doing 65. Your salary is $150,000 based on that. There's been precedent law now where people have been taken to court saying, you told me I was only going to be doing this, I've actually done this. So they calculate the hourly rate for that, and actually they got back paid an extra $100,000 because they've done all this excessive time because of that.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
So don't have this idea of as a salary, just it also encompasses what's fair and reasonable. And whenever you go to any tribunal, they'll always look at what is fair and reasonable. And if you can't prove it is, then you're in hot water. And the other question you asked earlier, which was a valid one about sole traders, you need to be careful with sole traders in the perspective of if they are working for you and they're full-time sort of thing, are they really an employee? So therefore, they are covered by your workers' comp unless they've got their own personal insurance, because you can't get workers' comp as a sole trader. Okay. The other one is superannuation. You need to ensure they're either paying their own or you need to pay it, even as a sole trader.
What if you employ people who do not live in Australia?
Okay, so if they don't live in Australia and they're working overseas,
They're living and working overseas.
okay, so that all comes down to immigration, and it comes down to the base of a company is here. So let's put it different. If I employed someone as Cross Asia Pacific and I pay someone in Singapore, okay, so they're over there. So the tax system will still work here as well as there. You work out what's what and how long they've actually been out of country or not. So that's the tax componentry. If you've got HR law and stuff like that, it usually falls in the country which they're sitting. But when it comes for discrimination against their contract or what's not fair in their contract, it will fall back here because this is where the base is. Because what you will always do is say, where is your base in a contract? So you won't just talk about people in high levels or fly all around the countryside. We'll always say, this is your point of hire. Now that point of hire term then says, right, can we now get living away from home allowance? Can we get all these other things tacked on because that point of hire was here? So if that point of hire is Rockhampton and then you sent them, let's say, to Sydney for 6 months, the expectation is that they're not going to go down there and get rent. You need to pay that because their point of hire is here.
And the legal framework is the point of hire legal framework. That applies.
Yep, so if they had a contract and they say, your point of hire now is going to be Singapore and this way, but you work for a conglomerate, that's how it works there. So you can't send people overseas to do mining or something like that and they fly in, fly out, whether depends on what roster. And mine was 6 weeks on in Indonesia and 2 back here. Everything was still based on Australian law for me while I was in Indonesia.
Any other questions? No? Well, then it's time to give you your thank you gift, Mr. Miller.
Woohoo!
Simon, thank you very, very much for sharing your valuable expertise with us. This is from the Smart Hub.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As Simon said, he is one of our mentors, so if you want to access Simon's expertise, please feel free to private message us through Facebook or contact us through our website or give us a call or reach out to Simon directly. You're on LinkedIn, you're on all the socials anyway,
yes.
Right? And you have a website, so easy to find.
No
Thank
worries.
you so much. We look forward to seeing you in our February Lunch and Learn. Yes, let's clap.
Have a good day.